Welcome back to Taking Back Monday. I am so excited that you decided to say goodbye to the Sunday scaries and hello to a brand new future of work. And I'm even more excited to introduce you to my new friend, Tom. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Liz. I'm super excited for this.
Longtime listeners will know I love this opening question. They're used to it. They could probably do this whole interview at this point instead of me. But I want to know, what is your origin story? How did you get here, and what forged you into the person that you are?
Sure. Yeah, no, this is good. So when I graduated school, I guess I had the delusion of the world kind of owes me a job. And that was my thing. And I couldn't find work. And my then girlfriend, now wife, sent my resume into this company selling wire. And I needed work. And so they ended up hiring me. They hired me. The interview did not go well, but then the guy said, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you 3 months. And if you work out, we'll keep you. And if not, we'll part ways as friends. I was like, sign me up. Cool. So that's what we did. I came in and, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be a salesperson. And, I would get there maybe 2, 3 minutes late and kind of make my coffee, sort of lollygag a little bit in the very beginning. And, it was a small wire company, and one of the owners had kind of stopped me, not my boss, but somebody in the production side of the house, and said, "Hey, listen, do you want to be here?" And of course, if anyone has by the owner of their company gets that question, of course I want to be here. He's like, "Well, you don't seem like it, so
Yeah.
like maybe you should do that because that would help." And I was like, "All right, fine." And so that's what kind of at that point I was like, you know what? Sort of sat back and I said, you know what? I don't want to be in sales because I didn't. But I'm here. I'm here for 8 hours a day. I might as well care or act like I care. And then as I started learning, I said, you know what? If I could get good at this, I could make some money. So then that sort of like changed my trajectory or my thinking on, selling and sales. Cause I was like, well, if I can, maybe I start studying and reading books. And at that point, this is a long time ago, it was cassette tapes. And so I got the sales cassette tapes and started listening and reading and getting better and learning my craft. And then, now it's all I've ever done. Every house I've ever bought or every kid's tuition or it has only been in sales. I've done nothing else. And, truth be told, it's sales over the phone. So I've never I did have a field sales team for a while. But I found it more efficient to do it over the phone. Not to say I haven't gone and seen customers and called on more trade shows because, of course, I've done all that too. But my whole life, my whole career has been in sales. I was, when I was just a switch in the thinking of me saying, you know what, I'm here. Let me try it, and let me invest in myself. Um,
Yeah.
as I did.
I think it's so funny because the I don't want to be in sales, but I guess I'll do it pipeline is it's quite full. There's a lot of people that I talk to that are like, the last thing I wanted to do was sales, because sales gets a bad rap and
Yes.
honestly sometimes deserves that rap because we've always had
Yes.
that rep who just ruins the entire profession for us. I was the same way. So I joined a small startup when I was coming out of college, and everyone wore all the hats. And so I
Yeah.
was sales and marketing and account management and everything. And I never wanted to be in sales. And to this day, even though I am the primary seller for my businesses, I still cringe a little bit when I say like I work in sales. But
Yeah.
I really think that the people who are reticent to claim that sales persona are some of the best sellers, right?
Yeah.
We don't give off that like snake oil salesman kind of feel, right? And so I had a great conversation with someone a couple of months ago, and we talked about the fact that sales is really just trying your best to help the people around you, whether
Great.
that's your customer, your team, your employees. I'd love to get your take on how your perspective around sales changed over the years.
Yeah. No. I think if you're in sales, like I think there's a misconception, and it's gotten so much better in the last, whatever, 10, 15 years. I've been doing this for a long time. So it's not, doesn't, yes, there are still some bad apples out there, but I think for a long time, sales was always viewed as something you've done, you do to somebody when, I sold them, I got them to sign the deal or whatever. And yeah,
Right.
that's like, it's a part of it, I guess. But that's not the way I really approach it. Nor do I, teach my reps. I also teach a college course on selling. And the way I teach it is, and I do believe this, is you're helping somebody. And if somebody doesn't want to be helped or what you have doesn't meet their needs, that's okay. You find somebody else that wants better that you can help. But if you look at it as helping folks, um, helping solve their problem, making their life better, making them look better, whatever that is, um, that's the way you need to approach it and believe that. Because if you don't, I mean, the first person you have to sell is yourself, right? I mean, so if you don't believe it, they're not going to believe it. And you ultimately, at the end of the day, you need to help the people that, need help. And sometimes they don't even know they need help. Like, this is a problem. I don't know what to do. Okay, well, how about this? I don't know. All right, let's dig in a little bit. You start asking some questions and figuring things out and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
But
and I
yeah,
think that shift has really changed, right? Like
yeah,
I used to say sales, in order for sales to win, the customer has to lose, right? And that was kind of the culture around it. A lot of people like, unless the customer's losing, I'm not winning, even if we're both
right,
winning. And
right,
I'm really seeing a shift in how we think about those customer relationships as people are saying we can both win,
right.
right? It doesn't have to be I win, you lose in this world. Some of that comes from, like the movies that we would watch growing up, like Always Be
Well,
Closing, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And cookies are, or I watch Boss Baby because I have small kids, so it's like cookies are for closers, right?
Oh,
Coffee is for closers,
yes,
and
yep.
so I think that culture is still around, right? We
Oh,
still
yeah.
see it in some of those legacy companies, but I think a lot of the brands that I interact with, and even in the B2B space, are starting to move towards a new direction of more than saying they're customer centric, but actually being customer centric.
No, agreed. It's funny that you take copies for closers because the class I teach, um, I do have them watch as homework, Glengarry, Glenn Ross. And I say it's not a good movie. It's not, but it kind of shows a desperation sales culture that,
Hmm.
you don't want to be. So
Right.
I'm showing the stuff that you need to be, but this is where you don't want to be. And, so again, it's a college course. So you have folks that are wannabe sales folks in it too. And then some people are just getting credits. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but my thinking is that if I can show you, you can recognize maybe a place that maybe you don't want to work, or maybe a bit of a toxic culture. Um, that's a way to help maybe identify that, and that's one of the reasons I would give it to the homework. But agreed, the sales world has changed in the last, I'm going to say 15 years, or at least
Yeah.
I think it's always evolving. But if you're not out there to help someone, you just put up a website and, buy what it is you need and be done. Right. You don't need a salesperson then. Right. That the salesperson is there to answer questions, provide solutions. Um, I think diagnose the problem that you may not even know you have. Cause
Yeah,
that
it's definitely more consultative and less like door to door. And I think it's truly my hypothesis is that when we started moving into like cloud infrastructure and more consumable products, people didn't need to be as loyal to companies because I can switch from Zoom to Microsoft Teams overnight with a click of a button. And so to keep those deals and keep those people coming back for our brand and our product, you have to be more consultative and you have to be more considerate of the process because it's easy for me to switch.
Oh yeah, yeah, and like I guess way back in the day, you needed your salesperson to educate you on the new products and that kind of stuff. That's not the case anymore. Like,
No, I'll go to Chat GPT and be like, tell me about this product, right?
right, right, no, exactly, exactly. And so you have to now. It's not, hey, let me show you this new thing. Let me show you how this new thing can make your business better. And how to, maybe this is what you need, but maybe you need to customize this or that or whatever it is, to help make it fit to, or customize it to your solution or what is your business does.
So, in addition to being in sales your whole career, what else are you working on right now? What's your thing that gets you up on a Monday morning?
Yeah. So I am teaching, which I do love. I've been teaching a sales course to my own employees for, oh gosh, maybe 20 years. And then just this past year, I started teaching at the college here at BCU. Um, and that's exciting. I do like that. You know, it ebbs and flows, what's interesting about it is teaching people that work for you is different than teaching college students. Because people that work for you, are respectful, listen, they're getting paid and all that. College kids are paying to listen to you. So, I find that, engagement and that kind of stuff can sometimes be challenging, but you work through it. And I have to say, from at least a development perspective for myself, it can be tough. It's teaching me to be able to engage better and find ways to pull stuff out of folks, which I've never really had to do. So that's pretty cool. I did also start to, 'cause I like AI. I'm not an expert at AI, but I want to really get better at it. I think that is the future. And so Richmond called it RVA Ready Now. And so I've started to kind of dig into that a little bit. Went to my first event here, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. And it's pretty cool. It's just a local community of folks that want to put Richmond on the map as the, AI, capital of the world, which is it's an ambitious goal. But I think that's a cool thing. I went by myself and, while I use, ChatGPT and that kind of stuff, I am not an expert at all. But I was there with like programmers and all these people, and they're like so welcoming, so nice. But that's another thing that I'm really interested in. I think that could be really cool, just to get good at, or just even if I'm not programming, which I will never probably do. But if I could understand it really well and that kind of stuff, and it's not like a scary thing, I don't have to worry about the bots coming down from the sky and taking over. I can help program. Maybe I don't know.
I'm
Give
a
it
big
prompts.
believer in the future of AI, but not artificial intelligence. I like to think of it as augmented intelligence,
Mm,
right? It's meant to make me better and faster and smarter and augment me as a human. Because I think there's maybe this misconception, or this is my opinion, so not putting that wrapper around it. I think some people have this idea that we're just gonna buy AI and turn it on, and our businesses are gonna run perfectly, and we're gonna be double the efficiency, and we can cut our headcount but triple our profits. And
yeah,
I just don't think that that is the reality. So I think in
yeah,
understanding the limitations of AI, right? As an early adopter, I love AI, so don't get me wrong. But I'm talking to a lot of companies right now who are slapping AI on it and calling it a day. And I think that that is short-sighted because
yeah,
we're going to do things in our business that are going to hurt our customers. I mean, how many bad chatbot experiences have you had? Because I've had about a
sure,
million.
yeah,
And
sure,
it tarnishes my opinion of the brand when I go in and their new brand ambassador is, instead of Samuel L. Jackson, it's now a chatbot that can't answer basic questions, right?
yeah,
So when you're exploring the new world of sales and the things that you're working on with your students, especially, how are you seeing that change over time?
yeah. That's a great question. That's a good question. It's still relatively new. I think I do wonder when I kind of grade some of the work, like, am I am I just grading with the chatbot doing? And what's even funnier though, we have at VCU, it's a it's an awesome system you can do. It's called like speed grade, and it lines them all up, and then you can pre-populate your answers before you do it, and so it does pick the answers. Like if they write the exact same answer, it works. If they I just had a quiz here recently. If they put a capital letter or add a period or space it out a little bit differently, it doesn't, and it kind of
Right.
kicks it out. So I have to do a little bit of that. But it's funny as I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, do I have a robot that's taking the quiz? And is there a robot grading it? Like, do I
Yeah.
need to be here? Do they need to be here? So when we are using it there in real life applications, which I'm glad to have the exposure to. And we have at McKesson, the company I work for, we do have our own chat app. So I do use that a lot. It's kind of it's ChatGPT with like Rails on it, so that and it's not going out into the cloud and confidential
Right.
information and that kind of stuff, which is good, which is
Right.
good. But then I also do use ChatGPT too. But no, I think it's the future. I want to understand it better. I want to be good at it. It was that one event I'd gone to, and it was like a talk and a happy hour kind of thing, and it was cool talking about all the different prompt engineering and how these guys are using it in way different ways. And one person I talked to, he wasn't in sales, but he was doing something for the sales people. They did I think it was like a $10 million bid to some big company, and it normally something that would have taken days to do. He said he did in about 3 hours, and it was like 40 pages of material and all this stuff. That was just he said I had all the prompts pretty much done, added a couple others, and and it was underneath birth. Like, so everybody, the way he explained it was, there were like 4 people that had to like contribute to this big bid. And if the lawyers were going through it, and his was the only one that they were like, nope, perfect, you're good. And everyone else had to do rewriting and all this. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Well, that's what I mean by, augmented intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Because is that bid any less good than it would have been if a person had written all 40 pages of those versus a person producing the content and figuring it out and then letting the system polish it for them?
Right, right, agreed. And that's the ideal way to. That's why I pretty much use it. I like to use it for like brainstorming and things like that. That's where I think it's fantastic. Or like I kind of know what I want to say, but so I'll like throw a couple words in. Like, can you make this sort of sound like something? And it
Right.
works. Or it gets me close enough to maybe have it. Oh, this is cool. Let me come up with some other stuff to maybe make it better, polish it.
My favorite ChatGPT prompt is I'll put something that I wrote in there, so I'll upload like a Word document, and then I'll say roast this for me,
Ooh, that's
and
good.
then it goes through and it basically makes fun of whatever I wrote and flags anything that like somebody would roll their eyes at, and then I say, okay, now coach me on how to fix it.
I,
And then it goes through and like says, okay, this is a super cliche. Everyone's heard this before. This is nothing new, nothing
yeah,
spectacular. So when I'm doing like, especially my thought leadership, where I'm trying to coalesce an idea,
yeah,
I'll ask it to roast my stuff all the time, and it's kind of funny. Some of the stuff it comes up with, but it illuminates the blind spots for me. So even
that's
though I took the time to write it, sometimes you're too close to your own stuff and you don't see it for what
yeah.
it is. So that's my secret prompt that I use
That's
for
a
almost
great one. No,
everything.
that's a great one. I like that. I like that one a lot. I like that one
Yeah.
a lot.
It's
But
you'll get some
that's
good stuff. You'll also be like, ouch, ChatGPT.
ah,
You don't have to be quite so hard on me.
uh, yeah, no, I'm definitely going to use that one. I'm definitely. I just helped one of our reps is applying for another job, and he did ask me, "Hey, can you help me out?" I said, "Okay, well, you need to come up with first the hardest question you possibly could think of." So we put it into our chat app. I said, "Okay," and then she's like, "Oh my god, these are so hard to answer." She says, "Well, let's ask it the answer." So then we had to put it in, answer.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh my god, it's the best thing ever,"
Yeah.
just stuff like
Just for
that.
prep. Exactly.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
actually saw someone who used it to practice. So you can use like the voice mode on ChatGPT and you can say like I want you to pretend like you're interviewing me for this role. Here's the specs of the role. Here's my resume. Interview me and give me feedback on my responses, right? So I really do think the future of how we unburn out ourselves is let that chat GPT, let those AI agents do the stuff that we just don't want to do anymore. And so we can elevate ourselves to the stuff we actually care about, free up our time and frankly, for lack of a cliche that I would get roasted for, work smarter, not harder.
right. No, agreed, 100%, 100%. That's awesome.
So Tom, as you're thinking about all of the incredible people you've had a chance to meet, who in your mind is leading the charge? Who's taking back Monday?
That's a great question. And I want there's so many people I could think of, but if there's if I could say a group of folks, I think my team is taking back Monday, and they maybe they'll tell us the otherwise, but I think so. Um, you know, this we just so in our company, we just ended our fiscal year in March, and so April 1 was our new year, and we had a tough year this year. We fortunate we had last 15 years of exceeding plan, all that, which is something I'm very proud of. This year, I'm waiting for the final, because we're a publicly traded company. I'm waiting for the final numbers, all that stuff to come in. So I know I'm very close. Um, but the team this year surprised me with how much they were just stepping up and getting after it. And there was it was a super proud moment for me, and I have a team of managers as well, of how hard these guys were even if I had reps that were 120% the plan, killing themselves to bring stuff in. Reps that were maybe still below their plan, um, you know, doing everything they possibly could, and it was like, wow, this is really cool, and it was inspiring to me, and one of the things that kind of makes me like I guess reinvigorated me, like, wow, I love my job. I'm not gonna say I don't, but maybe like, man, I really do. I don't have a job. I appreciate these guys. Um, for Monday specifically, what we do as a team. So we're a hybrid team. We're in the office one day a week, and then we will come in. if we have meetings or something, which maybe it's one a quarter or something like that, if it's that. So what we do, again, I'd like to say it's, super fancy, but it's really not. We do we do what I call a roll call. And I have a calendar. It's my factor crap calendar. So I know it's not
I love
super,
that.
we used to do it in the office, and we do a roll call. So, I ask a question and they answer factor crop. It's a, true or false question. And if nothing else, I know it's for the computer. Everybody's kind of, at least they're usually kind of silly questions. Everybody's sort of laughing, putting things in the chat. I go through, hey, this is what we're working on this week. This is what's coming up. Oh, by the way, if you haven't done your, what compliance trainings, do those and that kind of stuff. And it gives me a chance to connect to them because as a person who's worked in an office pretty much my whole career, I miss the guys. I miss having them around, and I miss kind of just the banter and that sort of thing. This is kind of a one way to get a little piece of that back. And, I think, so I guess if I'm going to say my team, my custom extended care inside sales team, and I know that's probably, I don't know if it's not cool, but that's the way I feel.
We play factor crap with my kids.
Oh,
So I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they think it is the funniest thing in the world. Like, if you're not familiar, the questions are like, how many toilets are in the White House or something like that. And
sure,
it's
yeah,
and it's the things that like you would
yeah,
never think. But my 5-year-old and my 9-year-old thinks it's hilarious and they love it and it's a game that's accessible. But I also love that you specifically take time out of your work day to just have human moments, right? I felt like when I worked in an office, because I'm fully remote now, I knew the names of my coworkers' dogs and I knew what they
yeah,
were doing on the weekend because we would have like coffee time or,
sure.
water cooler time and you just did it naturally. But now that I'm fully remote, like I get on a Zoom call and we talk about work and we get work done and then we get off.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. And I think you have to be twice as intentional in
Oh,
this post-COVID hybrid remote world to build relationships beyond the tactics of your job.
oh no, yeah, you have to be so deliberate about it. And yeah, can you do the work? Yes, you can at home, and that's fun. I'll be honest. It's funny. One of my reps, and who was on my team now on another team, I had come in on a Thursday or something. I said, come to you and see if I can. Said to one of our new teammates, oh, see if he's in his office. I'm like, how does he have an office? And he's like, oh, it's right there. He's like, oh, I never see him in his office. So my goal is literally if I have a call with you, obviously my office, or have a one-on-one conversation with a rep or manager, I'll use my office. But my goal is I block my calendar so that I can't have any meetings. And I spend most time on the floor helping, coaching, but a lot of it, yeah, it's helping and coaching and that sort of thing. But a lot of it too is like, hey, your new
Right.
baby, and oh my God, I know your dog had to get some surgery. What happened with that? And that kind of stuff. And oh, your son just graduated, right? Like just being with the people and talking to them and seeing what's going on in their lives. Because I don't know, I kind of want to know that stuff, but I also think I miss that. I genuinely miss that, and so that's also too. We do again. I want to be like, hey, we're just having a social hour the whole time. We do coaching and that kind of thing, and what's cool about it is that while we're there, hey, can I what this? What's funny is I never get more. I get so many more questions when I'm standing. Like, hey, what about this? What about that? What do you think about this? I was
Right.
just bouncing ideas. I'm like, you can call me whenever I'm there. You can call me. I'll help you out. But I think it's when I ask people, I'm like, oh, you're like, wow, I don't want to bother you. I'm like, you're
Right.
bothering me now.
Right.
So
Right.
what? That's just doing it.
It's more socially acceptable to bother you in person, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, it's funny, but they're not necessarily bothering me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's yeah, you have to be deliberate about it. But I think it's such an important part of work. I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Especially,
agree.
especially
So, especially in sales, and especially if you're going to do any kind of coaching, because I'm sure they're much more receptive to coaching if they know you as a person versus just the person who comes in and coaches them all the time instead of the person who talks to them like a human.
right. Agreed. 100%.
So, Tom, if someone is really connecting with you, if they want to learn more, where can they find you online?
LinkedIn, definitely. I have a respectable LinkedIn presence. You'll probably find me there. And then I do have a book. You can find me on Amazon. So it's the ABC Book of Professional Selling. You can see that there. And it's a picture book, so it's easy to read. You know, there's some pictures in there. You have a team and different things about selling and working. yeah, so it's easy to read, and I use it in my class too. And so actually tonight we're doing a persuasive presentation with some material from it. So,
Awesome. Well, definitely connect with Tom on LinkedIn. Check out his book. I love the idea of a picture book because yeah, it's different, it's easy to understand, it's easy to comprehend. And yeah, we'll definitely be checking that out. Thank you so much for taking back Monday with me.
thank you so much. It's awesome. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on Taking Back Monday, where we say goodbye to the Sunday scaries and hello to meaningful and fulfilling work. If you enjoyed today's episode, let's connect on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found value here, share the podcast with your network. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps us inspire more leaders to join the movement. Until next time, let's take back Monday.